Welcome to the McCallister Report. We join John McCallister, top football evaluator, as he shares wisdom and interviews coaches and athletes from around the country. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hello, this is John McCallister with the John McCallister Report. And today I'm going to go solo and I want to talk about football officiating. It's just ideas about football officiating, maybe how it can get better, and then how it's not going as well as it should be. Why we are losing football officials. Obviously, one of them is age, but there's a lot of older guys who are still officiating for the need and for the love of the game. I think I'm more centered on younger officials coming into the game. And there's just some thoughts that I see happening. I'm sure there are more, and I'm sure I'm not necessarily correct, but again, it's my thinking, my thoughts. So if you sit back and enjoy my podcast about football officiating in Ohio high schools. Hello, this is John McCallister with the John McCallister Report. And today I'd like to spend just a few minutes on that's football officiating, football officials. And before we do that, I'd like to tell you about two new rules this year, and I've seen both of them enforced. Number one, all knees in high school have to be covered now. You know, we can't be like colleges and have them clear up your halfway up your calf, your thigh, and your pants come that far. We can't do that anymore. And you have to have your knee covered. And it's not, I was told it's not to protect your knee as much as they think that knees, when they hit helmets, it's a little bit harder force, and that it caught more possibilities for concussions. So really it's a preventive measure so we don't have concussions. And it's a good idea, I think, for a number of reasons. I think it also helps protect the knees. I think it looks better. It looks more like the old football uniform and things like that I go back to. And the other rule is, and I don't quite understand this, but you can't lead much anymore leading with your shoulders on a defenseless player. And I can give you the example that if a person's going up waiting for the ball, and as soon as he makes the catch, you hit him with your shoulder, then that's a personal foul. That's roughing. Personal foul. You can't do that. If he makes a catch, you either have to pull him down or knock him down. You can't drive with your shoulder if he's sitting there and just catches the ball and that you hit him. Now, I think I saw it called the first game of the season. I think I saw it called. It's 15 yards. Now, it's not an injection or anything like that, but it's 15 yards. Those are the two rules that really jump out at me that they've talked about. And of course, they're going to watch for more, targeting and late hits and things like that. Targeting still special. And honestly, what I think you're going to come to pretty soon is you do use your shoulders anymore. That's being sarcastic, but I think that's coming to that. Okay, let's talk about officials. All I hear about it, it's true that we're losing young officials. They're not coming back. They're not we're losing young officials. And I think one of the biggest reasons is coaches. I think one reason, maybe the major reason, I believe, talking to all kind of officials along the sidelines when I go to games, I think the high school football coaches themselves are intimidating young officials, coming up and down the sideline, yelling at them, young officials. And I think coaches that probably don't want to hear that, but it's really true. The old veteran guys, I don't think you can intimidate. And the high school coach knows that, and the veteran knows that. I think talking to even at the college level, you just can't let them intimidate you. And I think that's what's happening on the lower level, even JVs. I think high school coaches are intimidating those guys who are really young, many of them. At the high school level, get back, stay off the field and get back in your coaching box. I hear that all the time, and coaches don't even pay attention to it. And I feel bad for the young coaches because a lot of them don't have the nerve to call 15 yards or whatever. I can't remember what it is. 5 yards, 15 yards, bench warning. I don't think they have the nerve to call that. And coaches know that. You no longer vote for coaches you no longer vote for officials for the playoffs, so that shouldn't be a reason. Everybody didn't want to make the coach mad because he wouldn't vote for him. And that's kind of silly, but it was very, very, very true. Time and expense. I think it takes a lot of time. It takes, you work after school for games, you work Saturday mornings for games, and you work Friday nights for games, and now they have games on Thursday night, games on Saturday after varsity games on Saturday afternoon, varsity games Saturday night. I think it takes a lot of time, especially for the older officials, but they've done it for so long, they look forward to it. But for young guys, I think it takes time. I think it takes a lot of their time, and they're not willing to totally dedicate themselves to that being an official. There are too many nights, too many after school things. For me, if you signed the dotted line to be a football official, then you do what it takes. You work all kinds just to get the experience, just to help kids, make kids better. And don't, on a Saturday morning when you're doing a JV game, you don't have to have an attitude. You're still helping kids. And I think you're still got to fight off the high school coaches too. The fans can be a problem. In football, they're so far away from the stand. In the stands, they're so far away. Some places I go to, Old and Tangy Liberty, my goodness, it seems like a half a mile to the field. But I think fans can get along the sidelines. They could probably chew out officials at halftime or after the game. And I think fan attitude is more prevalent in the youth games and maybe Thursday night games or Thursday after school games or junior high games and that level, youth football. I mean, it goes, fans obviously can be a problem, but screaming and yelling and things like that. And I coached at Lakota back in the day. They hadn't put their new field in or anything like that. And shoot, fans could reach out and touch me. We called it the ropers. They just stood there. They could almost touch me, and I was the coach on the sideline. So, but fans can be a pain. And I didn't cover expenses. It takes money investment. And, you got to pay regulation fees through the OHSA. You got to pay you got to have nice uniforms. You got to have all the equipment, the weather equipment, winter or rainy equipment. going to have shoes, good shoes, and all those things. And I think it takes money. You got to pay dues some places. Everything takes money to be an official, and a lot of money to me. But once you get it going, it's okay. The initial investment, and then you just add to it. But that initial investment, hundreds of dollars, hundreds, man, that takes a lot of money for guys that are just 20 years old coming out of college. I think it's crazy. And the last thing, I really don't think young coaches want to pay the dues. I don't think they want to work JV games on Saturday morning, Monday after school. I don't think they want to work junior high games. They're all going to be vice presidents. They all want to be vice presidents. Man, they want to be the top dogs. And I think it's hard. I think you have to learn. I think you have to start from the bottom and then work your way up. And it's getting tougher to do that because we are pushing for African American officials, which I think is huge, and we're pushing for lady officials, which is huge. So and they're good. It's not just fill the slot. I mean, these people are good, and so it's more competition, and you better latch on and pay your dues because it's huge and important, and work those games. And I think you're helping young players, football players, because you're showing time and dedication to them. Okay, I have two ways that we could help more high school football officials. And I think the biggest one, I'd like to see them start classes. They do this some places, start classes at the high school, in school. If you're a senior, junior, take a class. Take a class in football officiating. You might only get a half a credit because you take it for a semester, but I think it's important. And then do it in the spring or do it in the fall. You come out in the fall. I'm just talking football now. They're all kind of officials. I was a track official for a long time, but take a class in school, and you're actually in your high school. I think that'd be great. And then you take the test. I mean, you do everything that a 20-year-old does or a 19-year-old does, and then work your way up and get that start. And you could get a job helping officiate after school at your home school and work on that. And I think that if you're really, really interested, start doing the little things. Maybe work the chains for a while. Work the chains. Volunteer. They need them in underclass. I mean, not in varsity games so much, but they do need them in the youth, and they need them in junior high and freshmen and junior varsity. Those guys all need work the chains. I know that sounds crazy, but ask to do it. Learn. You're not going to make much money doing it. I think you get paid. I mean, the varsity guys get paid. But see if you can make a little bit of money running the chains, and you're starting from the scratch. And with that. And then the last thing, this is my last thing on officiating, is really try to manage your weight and your health. Manage your weight and your health. Try to look slim down. And a lot of the older guys have been eating too many pizzas over the years, and they've got big stomachs. I'm not saying they can't do the job, but I worry if they can keep up with the job. I think they can make the calls they see, but can they keep up with the game so it lasts for so long? Keep up with the game, and it's tough. But we need officials in Ohio, and some guys I talk to, I say, "No, we're good. We're good. We're good." Well, that's good. And the other thing, the last thing, the very last thing is if you're young, maybe try to come up with a crew. Try to come up with a crew of officials or a nucleus for you and see if you can start that way. Friends, or just, you know, recruit 5 guys, recruit them, and then work different positions. Again, it's got to be the love of the game, for heaven's sakes. It's got to be the love of the game. Thank you very much. My ideas and philosophies and suggestions to make football officiating in Ohio much, much better.